What's going on, everybody? Mac Daddy here, and today we're going to be working on something a little bit different from our normal day-to-day stuff. Today we have a 93 model Mack E7, and we're going to be putting the fuel injection pump back in this thing, and something that I have literally never done. But it's okay because I have access to service information and I have the tools to do it. One thing I did do is I replaced this 7-way connector not too long ago, and it had 3 pins backing out, so I had to replace that because it was having an issue shutting off. Got that fixed. Noticed that when it was running that there was some loping. Talked to a couple of the gray motor guys at the shop, and they told me that it was possible that the governor in the back, the magnets, were likely going out. So the customer pulled the pump and sent it off to be rebuilt, and here's our rebuilt pump. So we're going to be putting this thing back in today, getting it timed up. It is a Bosch P pump, and shout out to the OGs who can tell me where my finger is currently pointed, where this P pump is going to time with the engine. If you don't know, I will reveal it in the comments later in the or later in the video. So good thing is it's a basic P pump, should be pretty easy. So let's get started, and we're going to record the whole process of getting this 93 model back up and running. One of the first things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get up here. We're going to have to pull our intake piping off. We're going to have to pull our valve covers and pull our crankcase ventilation pipe off of here. That way we can make sure we have our engine timed correctly and make sure that we're on TDC for the correct cylinder. And little side note for those who don't know, we're going to set this at 8 degrees of injection timing. Alright, so we've already popped that screw loose, or that clamp. Not a whole lot of places to step on this thing. So we're just going to get this clamp fully loose. And then we'll get that clamp loose and pop this up. And then just to make sure nothing that we don't want in here falls in, we're going to go ahead and throw a rag down on top of this. And now I feel safer about popping all this shit up. So now we're going to do 2 tins here, 2 tins here. Be careful about that little fucker. Pop this guy off, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 bolts, each valve cover, and we'll pop the valve covers up. And we do have new O-rings for each of the valve covers. We've got new gaskets for our CCV, and we have a new oil drain feed gasket. So let's get after that. By the way, this silicone mat from Vim Tools, pretty freaking awesome. It's got a bit organizer in it, 3 different trays for separating your stuff out. I mean, it's just, and it's got notches for putting your extensions down there. I mean, this thing is just freaking awesome. One of the best things I've gotten from Vim, which I'm gonna have a video coming up soon of a tool review of stuff that I've gotten from Vim. I've been meaning to get these videos up for a while now, and I've just either been really busy or I forget. And I hate to say it because Clay reached out to me probably for about the better part of a year ago now about sending me some stuff from Vim, and I've been using the crap out of it. And one of my most favorite things that I use is the collapsible seat. I use the mess out of that stool, and I know y'all have seen it in some of my videos, but that is that's one of my most favorite things I've gotten from them. So we got our 2 tins loosened. Now we just got to undo this, get this thing off. I'll come back when I'm ripping the valve covers off. Alright. Ow! God, that's sharp. Rear head is now off. Rear head, dumbass. Rear valve cover. Front valve cover coming off. I don't think these valve covers have been off in quite some time. And I'm honestly starting to look at this wondering when the last oil change was. But nonetheless, valve covers are now off. Let's see. We're gonna have to go around for a different. Alright, now that we're on TDC, I'm not revealing that part because I want to give a little bit more time for the OGs to figure it out. We've got to get this front cover off. And for the OGs that know also, who know what this little piece of equipment was, I had to snip this off. For those who don't know, that is how Mack would originally verify that there was no tampering with fuel injection timing, i.e. turning it up. So we're going to get this cover off, and we're going to pull our timing gear off that times the engine to the pump. And then we're going to make sure our conveyance is able to be turned. And then we will slide our new pump in, get it mated up with the coupler. And then we're going to spot our injection pump and make sure our injection pump is on TDC. Once our injection pump is on TDC, I know my engine's on TDC. I can bolt my drive gear back up, bolt all of this back up, and we should be able to run. So come along for the journey. Alright, now that we have our cover off, we can get in here and pull these 4 bolts. Here, let me shine a little light on the situation. We need to pull these 4 bolts right here off of this gear. We're going to slide this gear out, and then we're going to use this nut right here on that hub to turn our conveyance all the way back to that gear in there, lining up our fuel pump and spotting our fuel pump, getting it timed on TDC for the correct cylinder. Once all of that's timed up, we're going to put that gear back in and make sure that everything's nice and tight, put it all back together, and then we're going to button all this up, and hopefully we'll be able to pop it off. Alright, so our gear's out. You can see how that gear's not in there, not lined up with that one, just our hub. There is the gear that we pulled out and the cover. And if you hadn't figured it out already, we're putting a rebuilt fuel injection pump on here. So, which hell, I think I already said that. But yeah, so our engine is spotted. We're going to double check it before we put the gear back in, but we're going to go ahead and get this back in, and then we're going to have to pull this guy out, and we're going to have to install what's called a AB light, and that's going to let us know when this is at top dead center. So come along with me. I don't have very long, so well, I say I don't have very long. I've only got a limited amount of recording time because of the Ray-Ban Metas. So let's see if we can get this big heavy son of a bitch in here and see if we can at least get it set up, and hopefully that'll slide in, which we need to put some goober lube on that O-ring. So let's get that going. Nope. Where's my open one? This isn't the open one I was looking for, but it'll work. Mixy, mixy. Oh, we're leaking Earl. We don't need to be leaking any Earl. Yeah, get that thing all in there nice and deep like. Rag. It puts the lotion on its skin. I guess the one good thing about this thing being as old as it is most of these other lines that are in here are pretty well form fit because of how old all of this stuff is. Alright, let's see, how bad do y'all think I'm gonna be on the struggle bus with this? Well, we made it to that point. Well, we ran out of time. There we go. Make sure all of our fuel lines are nice and loose. I'll be back, guys. Alright, so we struggle bust a little bit getting that pump in, but we got her, boys. So 15/16 on a ratchet. Sat here easing her in, moving this until I felt the gears line up. Got it in enough to get one bolt started, ease her in, and just work the whole pump in. These two back here were fun to get to, but now all we got to do is torque our pump down to the Econo Advance, get our lines hooked up, pull our sensor here out, put our AB light in, and I'm going to show you all that. Once we spot our pump and make sure that we're TDC there, then we are going to double check our TDC on the engine, make sure that that hasn't moved for any stupid reason. And as long as both are spotted and at TDC, we're going to button her up and send it by putting the gear on, putting the cover back on. We're going to put our valve covers back on with all new gaskets and seals, get all of our lines on and torqued, and hopefully we'll be able to pop this puppy off. Alright guys, so yeah, I struggle bust pretty hard, but here we go. I'm gonna try to leave that on that bolt. Torque spec on these mounting bolts is 40 foot-pounds. And I'm going to torque them in a crisscross pattern. And the last thing we got to do after we get these torqued is, yes, I have my engine at TDC, but I have to spot it and set the engine for timing this fuel pump, because if y'all all remember from the beginning of the video, our pump times at 8 degrees. So when I get down there, I will show you how to set the engine at 8 degrees for this particular setup. And once we have our engine at 8 degrees, we're going to spot the pump. And I know I'm repeating all this, but I just want to relay the importance of making sure that you have the engine correct and the pump correct. Otherwise, this thing will run like absolute garbage, and we have to do it all over again. So we're trying to avoid that. So I'm going to torque this last bolt, and then we're going to get under the truck and we're going to spot this thing to 8 degrees. And then we are going to come up here and spot that. All right, we are under the truck. And luckily for us, this one has a pointer right here that points straight up there to that mark on the 1 and 6. We have verified our engine is at TDC. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and reveal where this engine times that fuel pump. This one times on number 6. And the giveaway is that plug that I pointed to at the very beginning. So we made sure we are at TDC on number 6. And now we're going to continue to roll the engine. And it may be a little hard to see. I had some Brillo pad. We're going to get in here. And we're just going to clean up these timing marks in here. Just so we can make sure we see them. Alright, so we're currently at 5 degrees of timing. 6, 7, 8. Looking straight under it. We are at 8 degrees of timing, because there is our number 5, there's our number 10, 6, 7, 8. And our needle is pointing right at number 8. Now we can slide out, make sure our pump is at TDC. Why do I keep saying this? Leave it in the comments why I keep referring back to what we're doing. So let's get out and let's do it. Alright, we have our TEM sensor out. Not TIM, TEM. TEM, timing event marker. And now we have our AB light. This is made by Kent Moore. There's the number. For those of you curious about the price, yes, they are available. And they're about $2,000. Just about anywhere you look. If you're lucky, you can find them a little bit cheaper. Let's get our rag. Wipe all that crap off of those threads and contacts. And this thing is notched, so it can only go in there one way. And there it is. So with just gentle pressure, we're going to thread this in. Alright, and this is a self-grounding unit, so, or self-powered unit. So we're going to ground it just like that. We're going to flip that on. And it looks like our pump is not at TDC. So now oh, we just passed it. There's our A and B. So I'm gonna bring it back. And just very carefully rolling this thing over. There's A, there's B. We're lit and we are at TDC. I'm gonna shake this. All right. We're good. Now we can turn that off. Put our gear on, put our cover back on, put our TEM sensor back in, start buttoning all of this up. So one thing I did after thinking about it was, before I took this off, I just wanted to verify that once I got the gear in and started, that this wasn't going to change, as finicky as that was. And now the gear is torqued. Our AB light is still on. We are perfectly timed to the engine now. I will check back in after I get all these lines on. All of these lines and the fuel lines, and we're going to check back in probably right around time for startup. So yeah, getting after it, boys. All right, we're back. All of these are tight. Got our insulators on, all of our lines are on. We got our Alright, we are done. Our pump is in, it's timed, all of our lines are tight, our valve covers are back on and torqued, our crankcase breather assembly is back on and torqued, our turbo oil feed is back on and torqued, our oil drain is back on and torqued, our front cover is back on, torqued and sealed. We have our turning tool removed from down there, so we don't have to worry about messing anything up that way. Our intake tube is back in. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to see if this thing will pop off. Fingers crossed. Move that out of the way. Make sure we are in neutral. Probably going to have to get the air bled out of the fuel system, so we'll be back in just a second. Well, I guess I'm going to end the video here for today. We'll come back tomorrow for a part 2. Batteries are dead. can't get this thing to prime with dead batteries. So I'm gonna have the customer charge the batteries overnight, and we'll come back tomorrow, get this thing bled, and I will show y'all this thing running like a kitten. Mac Daddy out.